Welcome to another episode of Daily Gym. Is an MBA worth it? During my bachelor's and master's in the Netherlands, I studied business for about 4 years. At the time, I didn't think so much of it. Bachelor's only took 3 years, a master's was 1 year, tuition quite low, and the education quality quite high. But more importantly, I was interested in the subject in general, so I thought, why not take both a bachelor's and a master's? But it was after I started working with people from different countries, working and living in different countries as well, that I started realizing that I had been quite privileged up to that point, and that many people haven't had the opportunities or circumstances that I've had back then. And especially once people started asking me, Jim, do you recommend taking an MBA? That I started thinking about the question. It's a different topic from do I think you should go to university or not, because in this case, I'm simply restricting myself to MBA. Generally, my answer is a no. I don't think it's worth it to go for an MBA. The reasons for that is, firstly, an MBA can be quite expensive, especially if you want to go to a university that offers it in the developed countries, where the brand value of that particular university or that certificate is really high. You're looking usually at $20,000, $25,000 a year and upward, simply for the tuition, leaving aside even the living expenses. Of course, you can get an MBA in a developing or emerging country as well, but then how much is the certificate of the university or the diploma actually worth? The second point is the education itself. Sure enough, at that university, everything is structured, and you simply have to attend the classes, do the homework, study the books, prepare for the tests, and you're able to obtain a lot of knowledge that has been handpicked by all the professors in the university there. But with YouTube, podcasts, books, all these different forms of media that we have at our disposal right now, you can pretty much get the same kind of knowledge in a fraction of the time it takes you to do an MBA. Which then brings me to the final point, is the time investment. In my case, I did a master's in business, which took me 12 months, but most MBAs take 18, sometimes even 24 months. But whatever the knowledge you actually obtain in those MBAs compared to what I did is pretty much the same. So why are you spending 6 or 12 months on top of that for which benefit really? Having said all that, while my general advice is not to go for an MBA because of the cost in time and money and having more efficient methods to actually obtain the skills or the knowledge, I do think it's an exception for certain people with certain ambitions. Firstly, if you think about an MBA as being a hotspot for making certain connections, I think it can be really beneficial. But in that case, you need to think that not so much the time you're putting in, but more so the money you're putting in, is all about buying these connections that you're able to make. If you simply go to an MBA to study, I don't think you're really taking advantage of what an MBA can really offer, which, like I said, is probably the connections. The second thing is, if you're coming from a developing or emerging country, usually your passport is not so powerful, which means if you're able to go to an MBA, whether it's on a scholarship or you actually have the financial means to go to an MBA in a developed country, generally that country has a visa for people who have studied in that country that allows them to work for a certain period of time, thereby allowing them to stay in that country legally and maybe building up a new life for them, or at least exposing themselves to better opportunities than they probably have in their own country. And finally would be the reputation or the standing. I didn't realize this until I started talking with people from Asia or Africa, but if I say that I have a master's in business, people really start looking up to me. As I mentioned before, in the Netherlands, because the tuition is quite low and bachelor's and master's only take 4 years combined, it's not so uncommon to find people who have a master's degree. But if you're dealing with people in Asia or Africa, the moment you say you have a master's or an MBA or a PhD, people all of a sudden start respecting you a heck of a lot more than if you don't have it. Even if you say you have a bachelor's, people respect you, but the moment you say you have a master's, you're really being put on a pedestal. And while it doesn't make so much of a difference in Europe or the US, in those kind of countries, it makes a world of difference, especially in terms of opening doors or opportunities for yourself. That's all I have to say about the topic for now. I would love to hear what you think about, is an MBA worth it or not? Is it worth it in your country or in another country or not? And if you enjoy this kind of content, be sure to subscribe to my channel or to follow me more, because I will keep posting these kinds of content that hopefully empowers you to be more efficient, effective, and productive in your life. I'll be back with another episode, and for today, have a nice day.